All right, here we are in the home of Andrew Rice, teacher.
Mike, great
teacher,
to be here with you,
expert,
man.
TrackMan expert. I've heard a lot about
Scary.
it. I've always wanted to come over and get a lesson from you. Never did. I don't care that much about it.
Not anymore, do you?
I swing my weighted stick in the morning, 5 minutes, 30
That's
swings.
good. That's good.
That's all I do.
You do something.
Every
Got to stay
day,
mobile.
though. Every day.
Got to keep moving. Got to keep moving.
That's the reason why. We are thrilled to have Andrew with us today, guys. As I said in the intro, I certainly wanted him here because of his expertise. As a teacher, yes. But through the years at Secession, we've had several beers together, and he loves telling stories. And like you, like me, like everyone, we just love great stories. But we'll get to those in a bit. If you don't mind, lead off with just a little bit of past history. I don't want to spend loads of time there. They can check on that stuff all the time. But you had an intriguing trek to the U.S. and from South Africa, and I want to talk a little bit about the influences of the great players of South Africa as well. Not only on South African golf, but in worldwide golf. Bobby Log, player, so many. It's a rich history down there. I've never been. Got close once on a trip to Durban. I got close, but it didn't work out. But give us a little history first.
Mike, originally from South Africa, obviously. I grew up, my dad introduced me to the game, fell in love with the game. I played all sports, cricket, rugby, soccer, you name it, and started to play some golf. When I was 13, we lived pretty close to the golf course, and my dad on Sunday afternoons would take me out, and there was this little 4-hole loop that we would play, and we would play 4, 5, 6, and then 3, and then we'd be done, It was like this, and I would hit balls into the net in the backyard, just waiting all week long, waiting for the 4 holes on Sunday, and that's really how I got started, My dad was...
How old?
I was 13 when I started, which I suppose today is fairly late. But back then it was about the right time to start, I would say. My dad was a good player. We played a lot of golf together. We got to travel and play some golf a little bit together. We went to Ireland once, and that was a special trip. That was really fun. And then came over in '87, played college golf at Central Florida.
What did you play? What course did you play in Central Florida?
We played a course called Eastwood. We played Rio Pinar. We played Metro West primarily.
I was playing the mini tours down there.
I remember when we played Rio Pinar, they had this board up, and they obviously used to have the old Citrus Open there.
Yep.
And I think Arnie won at that golf course once. It was a cool golf course. I think it'd be relatively obsolete now as far as the players hit the golf ball today, but it was fun back then. It was if you played well, you could shoot a 67, 66 out there. But
how'd you get hooked into Central Florida? Tell me that.
My dad had sent off, this is all old school, hey, pre-internet. So he had sent off 49 packages with a videotape in each one, and sending the resume, and shipped those off to America. And we had no clue, To us, there's no difference between Georgia State and the University of Georgia. And so, because we don't know. And so we go, Central Florida, Disney World, Mickey Mouse, let's go, And I was all in. And so that's really how it happened.
And then progressed. You tried to play.
Tried to play, chase the dream after college. Not for very long. Didn't have much success. Played for 3 to 4 years. Played the South African tour a little bit, which was great fun. Mini tours over here, which was less fun, but it was fun nonetheless. And
it was right in that area. A lot of the mini tours were in Florida.
For sure, in Orlando, I played the Tommy Armour tour back in the day, and a couple of stints on the Dakotas tour up in North and South Dakota.
I was way before you. I was the old Space Coast tour.
Yes, J.C. Goosey. Yeah.
Everybody cut their teeth there. There was no other place to play back then.
That was the trailblazer, wasn't it? As far as mini tours go, that was the start of it.
Heavens, I played with, so many players came through that. The Curtis Stranges and the Scott Hochs of the world never touched it. They just went right from.
They skipped straight to the top.
Kenny Knox ran with Kenny a long time.
Okay.
Rinker, Payne, Stewart was down there. I mean,
Huh.
it was just Mike Donald. All of those guys were down there. But it was all hubbed in that Orlando area, so
Yeah.
it was right in the same area.
Yeah, same
So
deal.
you chased it. It just
Chased
didn't work.
it,
Why
chased
not?
it.
Putter.
Um,
The putter.
the putter got a little shaky. The putter got a little
It's always the
shaky.
putter.
Yeah, putter got shaky, and I never really, I kept thinking I got to get a real job. I kept thinking, and it was like this is some little side action that I'm doing, and I'm not super serious about it. I didn't see myself as being a great player, and I think that's a biggie.
It is a big.
I think that's
I
a
made
biggie.
it there. I never saw myself there, but I got there.
Yeah,
I went through a tour school. Well, if I had seen myself there, I think that would have probably helped me stay there.
yeah,
I never saw anything in business. So we were talking, Tommy and I were talking about coming over here. When I first came to Hilton Head, there was nothing on 278. Nothing.
Yeah.
It was Moss Creek and a couple of stores.
you could have owned
Maybe
the
if you could
town.
have bought, if you could see 50 years out or 40
Yeah.
years out, you could have bought all that stuff and just be worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
But I did see secession 100 years out,
Yes, you did.
and that's the only thing I ever saw.
And look at it today.
And
I
it
mean,
worked. But if I'd seen myself, to your point, and I think that's what they teach a lot now, and I try to instill that into my kids, not my kids that Mark Anderson, you
Yeah.
help. Tell them early on that they can win.
Yeah.
Tell them early, let them see themselves out there.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge part of it. But if you don't have that, then you're always thinking about working.
I never had that.
And then
I
off you go.
honestly never had that, and so
And then you
didn't
linked
work
up.
hard enough. I had the tools. I just didn't work hard enough. Didn't see myself there.
Right. And then hooked up with Ledbetter.
Then had to get a job. Had to start making some money. Got married.
Oh.
Got married
That
in
does make
in '94, and the wife said, "Look, we need some money." I was like, "No, hold on. I think I'm just going to go hit ball." And so started working for David. It was a great time to work for David because he was the top dog at that time in the mid 90s, and everybody was going to David. And so worked for David till 2000 came along, and got an offer. To a certain degree, got recruited to come up to a course here in Bluffton at Berkeley Hall, and I was there for 15 years and really grew and learned a couple of things. I would say the best thing up until that point, Mike, the best thing for my career was 2008 economic downturn, and I decided I got to get all out or all in, because life was easy up until then.
All
you know.
out in what way? All out.
All out, go and do something else
Something
that I could make money at, because in 2008 the revenue stream was cut in half.
Right.
And I said, no, you got to do what you know, and I know golf, and so I said, I'm going to write a book. So I wrote a book in 2008 because I always thought to myself, smart people write books, and if you write a book, you're smart. And so I proved that theory wrong pretty quickly.
Are you
pretty
dissuading
quickly.
me from writing a book?
No. It works sometimes. It works. But I did that, and it's amazing how many doors that opened. I started a website in order to support the book, and the website became far bigger and far more important than the book. And that's how it.
Right there.
Yeah, that's how it grew from there.
When I was kind of looking over you and looking at your career, and Ledbetter, when I first went to the mini tours in 78, 79, Ledbetter was down at
Greenleaf.
Greenleaf, 36,
Greenleaf,
45 holes
yeah.
they had down there.
Haines
Andy
City.
Bean was hanging
Haines
around
City,
there.
yeah.
And I met him there. And I got to know him through some other guys. We played a little bit. And then I flared out in 82 and lost my card, missed by a couple in the finals at PPC, and came to Hilton Head. And I got involved with the PGA, and they wanted me to teach teaching business school too. Ended up doing like 22, 23 of those at a time. My first one was up in PA, and I went up to York Country Club, but I stopped at Pine Valley the day before. I'd never played Pine Valley and played. It's wintertime. It was cold, but it was nice. Got absolutely hammered after the round. Was teaching the next morning. My first PGA school. I got David Ledbetter in there.
That's awesome.
And Peter Oosterhouse were in there.
Wow.
Freaking front row. And I was in this room that didn't have 8-foot high ceilings, 7-foot high ceilings. I was just sweating. I was hungover.
Led's hat was scraping the ceiling.
I'll never forget that. And there's one of the greatest teacher of all time, and I'm teaching him.
Yeah.
Awesome. No. That was not good. We always had a good
That's
chuckle
a
about
scary
that.
moment.
But he did some great things. We'll touch on him real quick.
Trailblazer, for sure. He's the godfather. He's the godfather of instruction.
Left-handed.
I think so.
I think he could have taught him to play left-handed.
Most of the greats are that way. It doesn't matter who Tiger goes to. He's going to be really good.
He was revolutionary.
Yeah.
In the turn, the lower body movement. We always had that reverse C action.
Yeah.
He taught that that spine straight and turning, and he turned Faldo into an absolute machine.
Yeah. He got with the right guy. I was helping. I was assisting because Led always had to have an assistant. Go get us some water. We need some teas, that kind of stuff. And so I was doing that at one point, and he was working with Faldo, and Faldo hit the flag that he was hitting towards twice in a row and didn't notice either time. He was focused down here, and he was making swings and hitting a shot, and would just see the ball take off and look away. Clank hit the flag twice in a row, and didn't see either one.
Was he that? He was impressive. I went over for my first trip to Scotland in 1990 to try to qualify for the British because I had status through one. I just had to go to the second stage.
Okay.
And he won at St. Andrews that year. And
dominant fashion.
He didn't miss a shot.
Yeah.
I was there watching it on TV. He didn't miss a shot. He never missed a shot. He never missed a shot when he beat Norman at Augusta.
Yeah.
He never missed a shot. But he was just a freaking machine. He's an imposing character too. He's a big guy.
He's a big man.
Nicklaus always looked big on TV, but he wasn't a big man.
Yeah.
Faldo looked small on TV and was a very big man.
Yeah.
He was damn impressive. So you got to see that.
We got to see some of that, which was cool. Which was cool. And Faldo was top of the world at that time, and Led was top of the world at that time. And here I was, some little peon South African kid, fetching waters for the two of them and just watching what was going on, which was cool, eh?
And obviously you learned what from Led's processes.
Exactly. I would say this: there's not a lot of the swing stuff that I still hold on to, but like you said, the process of giving a lesson, the process of advancing a golfer, that's really what it's all about.
Right. And that is a process. And you only learn that through giving lessons, I think.
Definitely. You got to be out there. It's like, which club fitter should I go to? Well, go and find someone who club fits every day, all day. Which teacher should I go to?
Replace your knee.
Exactly.
Which one's doing 5 or 10 a day?
Who's done the most? Yeah. Practice.
So we met when you were at Berkeley.
Yes.
And we often spent some time together, mostly over beers. I don't know that we ever played together.
No, I don't think we did.
But we did spend some time together. And then the move to Savannah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Neat place, the Weston.
It's been fantastic. Yeah. It's been fantastic, Mike. I loved Berkeley Hall. It was a great experience. It was an amazing opportunity for me. But to get the opportunity to move to Savannah and move into a resort type environment where there's so much more freedom to do what you want. Sure. And I've always looked at, not always, but for the last 20 years, I've looked at teaching as multifaceted. I love to do different things, and so we do seminars, we do trips, we do golf schools, and golf lessons. And I like to do different stuff, and Savannah Harbor certainly allows that to happen for me.
There is an element to a resort or even a daily fee course that does give you far more freedom. The private side is delightful, wonderful people.
Yeah.
But a little more of a trap there.
Yeah, I think the relationships that you develop at a private facility are deeper, are better, because you see that person over and over and over again. In a resort daily fee facility, it's going to be in and out a little bit more. So I like that about the private side, those lifetime friendships, which you have hundreds of.
Sure.
But the freedom that I've been granted at a resort is second to none.
I always told people if Secession had not worked, because it was so unique, there's not 5 courses in the world.
Yeah.
There's clubs structured like it. If that had not worked, that's where I would have been, on the resort side.
Yeah.
Just fun. Take care of those people
Yeah.
on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
You know, there's no politics there. There's no
Exactly.
issues.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't give my time up for the world on that. But there's just so few of those that come along. But that freedom, the ability to laugh, cut up, joke. Now, of course, ours was very different as well, because it's much like a resort in that they come there for 3 or 4 days and they're gone.
Yeah.
And then they come back 3 months later, 3 or 4 days, and they're gone. Similar, but you still have the entanglements of politics that's just never there at a resort.
And the thing that always appealed to me about Secession, Mike, and I'm sure I've told you this story, was I still remember one of the first times I went there, go in the men's locker room, and there's Dora the Explorer toothpaste. Okay, and I'm like, this is fabulous. I love this. Okay, because no other uppity private place has got that. And then I go down at the far stall in the urinal. Okay, and I'm taking care of business, and I look down, and there's a sticker of Osama bin Laden's face. And I'm just nailing him right between the eyes, and I'm like, this is fantastic. I love this place.
Yeah.
Because it's the kind of place where you go to enjoy, to laugh, to hang out with your friends, and it's not uptight, and you're going to enjoy it.
No.
And that's what it should be.
Exactly right. And that we could talk all day about that.
Yeah.
You know, that's it's just certainly the essence of the whole place. It's
Yeah.
just, we never took ourselves too seriously on it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just come there, have a fun time, please have some beers afterwards, and laugh.
Perfect.
Just laugh.
What could be better?
We lost that in the game, I think. We lost fun.
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Where did
Yeah.
we lose that?
A little too uppity, I think.
Just I don't care. I've told the story many times about Crestwood, which I just adore.
Yeah.
And I've got a group over there. It's probably 3 years ago now, and I'm showing these locker rooms. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat in that locker room without hitting something. It's
Yeah.
tiny. And I'm showing these lockers. They went in 1860. It's the Civil War.
Yeah.
These lockers went in.
Yeah.
And I want these guys to see them. So I'm showing this locker, and I just randomly pick one out, and the whole front of the locker comes off in my hand. Oh my God, I broke it. And I said, all right, guys, we'll take a look, because there's no metal. It's all wood.
Yeah.
It's just all wood
Yeah.
inside. And so I go to put the door back in, and I set it in the holes or whatever, and it shuts, and it's fine. I go out and play. I wish I could remember what hole it was, but it hit me that I bet that door's been that way for 50 years.
Most
So
probably.
the one guy that uses it,
Yeah.
he knows how to open it without
Yeah.
it coming off of his hand.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
In the U.S., we'd be running around with a freaking door,
Yeah.
yelling, this place is going to hell on a handbasket because
Yeah.
my door's falling off of my
Yeah.
locker. Get it fixed. No. They
It's
don't
not a big deal.
care about
It's not a
those
big
things.
deal.
And
Yeah.
at Secession, we didn't really care about that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was obviously a wonderful setting, and that's where you and I got to hook up. And of course, we working with Anderson, who's been on and off the tour for a while. You helped him.
Yeah.
You helped him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And just
Tremendous talent.
implicitly. And I think he's still destined for greatness.
I think so.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. We'll see. I wanted to touch, and I touched on it in the intro, South African golf. Magnificent. The
Yeah.
heritage of South African golf is exquisite. And you don't hear that much about it. You really don't, for what is basically a fairly small country.
Yeah.
Bobby Locke started it,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously Mr. Player did,
An
brought
amazing
it.
thing.
Just
Yeah.
and so take me back into the country. How did Mr. Locke have a great deal, or was it really Mr. Player that turned the tide? Because the wash of great players that
Yeah.
came in after him, Els especially,
Yeah.
had to be influenced greatly by those guys.
Definitely.
And did they take ownership of those young guys?
I really think that Ernie's done a tremendous job with that. You know, he started
Taking
the
the young guys
yeah
under
the
his
Ernie Els Foundation. He's got the Ernie Els Junior Golf Tour.
junior,
He's
yeah.
really looking after a lot of the great young talent coming out of South Africa.
Did
And
Mr. Player do that?
he did quite a bit of that.
But
he
he
did,
was
he mentored
gone a lot.
Yeah, he mentored a lot of those
Yeah.
that next wave. But it was more of a one-to-one type mentoring, whereas Ernie's just going, listen, I want to help all
Big
these
time.
kids,
Big time.
all these kids. And
Did
he's-
he really signal in the Oosthuizens of the world?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did.
Ernie's the guy for that era.
Yeah.
Charles, Louis, Tim Clark, Trevor. He's the kingpin of that crew, you know.
Really? Do
Yeah.
they give him credit?
Yeah, for sure.
They do.
Definitely.
I have always been impressed with him. It's almost a shame he came along, and this happens from time to time. He comes along in Tiger's era.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger
Yeah.
wins 14. He's won 3 or 4 majors.
4.
And he probably should have 6 or 7 or 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Definitely.
Tiger's there. You know,
Tiger's there.
Weisskopf, Miller could say the same thing.
Tiger's there,
Jack
yeah.
was there.
Yeah.
You know, it just. But my God.
Bad timing.
What an effort! I mean, he's a phenomenal, and I hear a phenomenal individual as well.
He is, you know, it's interesting. I know Ernie relatively well. It's kind of cool that, you know, in our little state in South Africa, I played all my junior golf. We're the same age with the Goose and Ernie.
Yeah.
You know, same age, playing all the same junior golf tournaments. And these guys, you know, I will say this, Mike. I was state champion 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, one. Let that be noted. Let that be noted.
Make that note.
Okay.
Make that note. You took them down 1
I
week.
took those guys down for 1 week. It was most probably a 36-hole tournament in 1 day where I got them. But you
they
know,
were
they were so good. And you know, Ernie came along, and when he was 14, he was this big, and when he was 15, he was that big, and he was just amazing. You know, from that point on.
I had a dear friend that played at Clemson, and he was like a son to me. He stayed at our house many summers when I was at Moss Creek. A guy named Oswald Girardi, who was an
Yeah,
All-American at
I know Oz,
Clemson.
yeah.
And Oz went down there when he turned pro and wanted to play for a bit, and he went and played the South African
I think
tour.
we played together and traveled a little
Down
bit
there?
together. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, he came back, and he said, "Bro, I got to tell you, there's a guy down there you're going to hear from." And you just don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
You really don't hear that from people that go. They just don't say, "Well, you're going to hear from this guy."
Yeah.
And it was Els, and he'd gone down there for like 6 or 7 tournaments and won 5 of them and finished second in the other 2 or
Yeah.
something like that. He said.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
Yeah.
he showed up. Now, is Goose and Els the same age? I
Same
thought-
age.
Oh, they
all
were. I
all
thought
3 of us,
Goose
same
was
age.
a-
We're all 50, 51.
He's won
Yeah.
2 majors.
Two opens, yeah, 2 U.S.
Yeah.
Opens, yeah. The greatest
Impressive.
putting display I've ever seen, Shinny.
Oh, yeah.
When he beat Phil, he
Phil
could
says-
not miss.
Phil
It was
says
unreal.
about that one.
Oh man! If Phil watched the tape afterwards, he'd be even more
I know.
upset.
You know he has. You know
Because he
has.
made everything he looked at. It was
That's-
incredible.
And we'll get into this at the end, but that might be the best golf course in the world. Shanny.
To me, the greatest championship golf course on the planet.
Do you really think?
Oh yeah,
Think so.
number one.
Well,
Number
we
one.
agree
That,
with that.
I would give it that label.
We would agree with that, and that's where your ball striking comes in. That's where everything comes in. Power.
Yeah.
You got to have power. You got to have depth. You got to have a depth touch.
Wind.
Uh,
It's got firm. It's
changes.
yeah. It's got a great. It's just got everything.
All right, so my sickos that watch this
Yeah.
like stories.
Stories.
And
I love
you
golf
have
stories.
one of the great sickos of all time in Simon Hobday.
Oh yeah.
You got to tell me a good Hobday.
Okay, so I remember as a kid watching golf on
I
TV.
want to write a book on this guy. I want to write a
Oh,
book.
it would be
Somebody's
a
got to
good
write
book.
a book on this.
I know the guy who could tell you all the stories because my first set of golf clubs in South Africa, there was a golf company called Rhythm Golf. And Gary, for the longest time, Gary was a partner. It was Peter Matkovich, Dale Hayes, and Gary Player. Those 3 guys started started rhythm golf, and I caddied in the South African PGA for Dale Hayes as a little whippersnapper 13-year-old, and Dale gave me as payment my first set of clubs. Well, Simon Hobday was buddies with these guys, and he was somehow involved with the company. He was a rhythm guy. And I remember as a kid watching some South African tour event on TV, and Simon Hobday's leading by 2, playing the 18th hole, okay? And in front of the 18th green, back in the day in South Africa, I haven't really seen them in America much, but it's almost like they would take a bunker and turn it into a little concrete pond, okay? And so it's this water hazard where a bunker kind of used to be or should be, okay? Well, this 18th hole at Kensington, which no longer exists, has got a concrete pond right in front of, and the pond's about, 15 inches, 16 inches deep, and the pond's right in front of the pin. The pin, obviously, 18th hole Sunday, just over the water, okay? So Hobday's 2-shot lead, all he's got to do is get the thing over the pond, done. So Hobday gets down, takes forever, he gets down, hits this thing, he's got the lean going, and this ball splashes down in the edge of the pond. But as you get to the edge of the pond, the water's a lot shallower, and the ball goes in, hits the concrete, whoop, up, out, 10 feet from the hole. Okay? Hobday flops down on the ground, okay, with his arms wide open, and he's laying like this in the middle of the fairway, praising God for his good fortune, okay? And he lies there for like 40 seconds, and people are like, what's this guy doing? And he sits up, and he rolls his pants up in the fairway, still way back there, takes his shoes and socks off, and walks up the fairway like this to everybody, okay? He gets to the green, and he wades through the concrete pond, okay, with his pants rolled up. And it's kind of slippery in there, and he almost fell once. I was like, that would have made it so much better. And he comes out the other side, gets the putter, 2 putts all over, But I thought that was like no one else would have done that.
What a bizarre guy! I started running across his stories several years ago, and I they when he was on the European tour, he was so unable to manage his affairs that they gave him an allowance. They kept his money. The European tour kept his money and gave him an allowance. I mean, he was just said. But the one that I love is the ruling. And I don't know which one it was, and I need to validate this before it's all said and done. But he's leading like in the second round of the senior British Open, and he calls for a ruling. And he's an official comes over and kind of a snarky sort of guy, he's just upper crust, it's just very formal. Hobday makes his plea, and the guy says, no relief. Doesn't matter what the situation was. And he goes, he argues again, and is looking for some relief. And the guy says, Mr. Hobday, there's no relief, and if you don't play away immediately, I'll have you removed from the course. He's leading the tournament.
Yeah.
Hobday goes, question. Not a statement, question. He goes, and you'll have to pardon me for the language. He goes, if I were to call you an asshole, I'd probably get a penalty, wouldn't I? Question.
Yeah.
Not a fact. That's not a statement.
Yeah.
And the official goes, yeah, breach of conduct. He pauses a little bit and says, well, what if I'm just thinking you're an asshole? Is that a penalty?
Awesome.
It's brilliance. This is brilliant.
Yeah.
He goes, well, no. Can't control thought. I goes, fine. I just want you to know before I play this shot, I'm thinking you're an asshole.
So good.
Now that's
so good.
Brilliance right there. That to in that moment, think about just phrasing it. Who's leading the tournament?
To just do it like that.
I mean, it had to be, and he won. He was an extraordinary.
He was a good player. He won the U.S. Senior Open at Pinehurst. Not a lot of people know that. Yeah,
How
awesome
old
golfer.
was he? Much older than you?
He's quite a bit older than me.
20, 25 years?
Yeah, yeah. I remember my dad telling me a story about him that he contracted a case of the yips at some point in his career. And so he comes out playing the South African Tour event, and all of a sudden he's got dark glasses on and a big hat, which he never wore. Okay. And so he's got like this 3-footer, and he's playing great, and he's right up near the lead. He's got the short putt on the 17th hole on Saturday or Sunday, and he tweaks it and he misses it, and he takes his hat off and he throws the glasses down. He says, "No, you found me." You know, and people said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, I was playing incognito because
hide from God.
he was hiding from God." Yes.
I mean, that's just brilliant stuff. I've got to meet the guy, you know.
Oh, Peter Makovich. If you ever make it to South Africa, I'd make sure.
That is.
Him and Hobday were best friends, and Peter is a gem. Peter caddied for, I think Peter caddied for Ben Hogan quite a bit in America.
Oh, really?
He came over, and he was Peter was from Zimbabwe, where Nick Bryce and a lot of those guys originated from, and he played golf for Zimbabwe. He played cricket for Zimbabwe. He's just an amazing athlete. And now he's the top course designer in South Africa.
How old
Yeah.
guy? How old?
He's got to be in his 70s.
Oh, that's cool.
70s.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
will sit
He's
down
a top.
He's got some stuff.
And he would love you. He would love you. Yeah. He's got some stories.
How about Frosty? Great guy. David.
Frosty, great guy. I always viewed it was when I was playing the tour. It was great to make the cut. This is in South Africa. Okay, it was great to make the cut because you got Saturday, Sunday action.
Right.
But it was the best if you made the cut and you were paired with Frosty. Not because you were paired with Frosty, because you would have a lot of great-looking girls walking around with your group.
He was a tourist.
Oh yeah,
Harbour
yeah.
Town. He's legendary.
He was. I would say this, and I'm sure he would agree. Frosty was an underachiever on the golf course, but an overachiever at night. He still is. He's a legend.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a legend.
Beautiful. There's just now Price almost gets lumped into South Africa somehow. But
Yeah.
that's not really
Yeah.
right. But who else came out with him? Was there anybody else from? Now, was
Tony
that
Johnston was Mark
Johnson?
McNulty.
Oh, that McNulty.
Yeah.
What was that? Rhodesia.
Yeah.
That was Rhodesia
Yeah,
and
yeah.
changed to Zimbabwe. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing that you turn that. Now I've never met Price, but I hear he's just the nicest human on earth.
He's
An absolute. Gem.
He's one of those guys that you think would be really nice, and he's better.
He's more nice.
He's better. Yeah.
MacArthur, everybody that goes down there, he sticks his head in as often as he can.
Yeah.
There and just delights the people. I love
Yeah.
that. There's not many. This is another whole. We can get into other things, but when I've had this conversation a fair amount of late, when you start talking about the number one players in the world, there's a lot of narcissism there. And I think in this game, it almost requires that to be number one. Okay, not just a good player. But there's only a handful of guys that probably don't fall into that category that made it to number one.
Yeah.
He's one.
Yeah. Nick Bryce,
Freddie
for sure.
Couples probably.
Freddie Couples, maybe Arnie. We most
Arnie.
probably didn't have number ones at that time, but Arnie was always amazing.
Another stratosphere. Anyway.
Yeah, just it's kind of cool when you think about it. It's kind of cool to be able to reach that peak and still be a nice guy. Yeah.
I look forward to meeting him one day. I've never played MacArthur. I've heard good things about it, but I would just like to spend some time with him. Because I've just never run across a soul that does what these things the best. We touched on, and we were talking about before we got on camera, the Durban. Tell me about Durban golf ball.
Durban is
The most famous down there, for the
it
most
is.
part. Now,
It got rated at one point in the top 100 in the world, and so I know a lot of golfers who I've taught over the years have this this printout and this pegboard in their man cave.
I have one.
And you know, it's numbered 97 Durban Country Club, and so they've got to check that
gotta
off
see
the
it.
list.
Right.
You know, it's gone downhill a little bit, unfortunately, over the last couple of years. But much like it's not as big a golf course as a Bethpage Black, it's right on the coast. You're not hitting over the beach or anything or over the water like that, but it's right across the highway, which is right next door to the beach.
Right.
And the wind can blow lots of this, but I wouldn't call it linksy. It's like tropical links, like there's monkeys and jungles, and you can lose a lot of golf balls at DCC. Yeah,
And it goes to the 20s, 30s. It's old.
it's old.
Yeah.
It's old. It's old. The club, the last time I played there, had allocated a little too much of its funds towards the country club side of things. The pool, the tennis courts, the bowls, and I left the golf course a little bit. It's fine. You'd enjoy it. You would certainly enjoy it. It's a fun place to
They've
play.
built a lot more down there now, I guess.
Yes.
That just
Yeah.
kind of overshadow it.
Yeah.
I've always known about it. Tell me, let's talk quickly about your teaching.
Yeah.
You're almost unequaled in TrackMan.
Yeah. I love it. You know,
And it's very
awesome.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think that as a player, I would have gotten absolutely hooked on that if it had been around when I was coming along.
Yeah.
Because I would have loved to hit half eights and three-quarter 8-irons and full 8-irons and have them up in the stance, in the middle of the stance, back, and watch the spins.
Yeah. And watch the change in trajectory and the change in distance and the change in curve, and it's so cool. It's one thing, you know, you think about it back in our day, we would stand out on the range with our shag bag and just dig it out the dirt, okay? Yeah. Now, you hit that low 8, that standard 8, and that high 8, and you can pop around the corner and have a look at the numbers and go, that's interesting. Yeah. What that change is, you know, and those are real things. And a lot of people say, well, you know, you can get overly analytical by using TrackMan, and I would completely disagree. It is the ultimate feel machine. Yeah. You used it a couple of times. You would hop on it and go, I'm not hitting it that good. You'd hit 3 shots and go, okay, I see what's off, and go, let me feel this. Ooh, bing, there the numbers are in line with what I would look for, and you're off because you got your feel.
It's almost instant feedback that you go, if your path's just a little off, if the path's not where you want it, you can tell that. You don't necessarily know that old school.
Because it feels normal.
You see the divot.
Yeah.
You know, the divot was basically the line.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's not the whole story.
That's not the whole story.
But we did learn by that. That just made it a lot easier. It's
Correct.
like chipping. You know, I hear these guys chip with it.
Oh, yeah.
They're learning to you know, I was always a wonderful driver of the ball and a wonderful wedge player, which makes you a pretty complete
that's
player.
nice.
You know, that in some
Quite
form.
unusual, really.
But to you know, I'm hooding down that 56, holding up that 56. I'm playing around with that. Yeah. And I did learn that with shag bags. You know, you go hit your own ball.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going out there with a tube.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all sorts of things, taking full swings to make it land 15 feet further.
Yeah.
You know, I'm playing with it, and I learned how to do that with a shag bag. But to sit there and chip and have it a ball further back and then watch what happens with the spin. Yeah. I would have never thought you'd do it with a chip shot.
Yeah.
But they are.
It's awesome. You can do it with putting. I mean, you can see so much nowadays. It really is neat. I would say that video, when I first started working for LED, you know, we'd have the big old VHS cameras and draw the dry erase line on the screen down the shaft and go plug it in and slow-mo, frame by frame it. That was the X-ray. And now we've got, you know, this MRI machine that just gives us a deeper view. You know,
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
You say that the video was X-ray and the TrackMan is MRI.
Yeah. I was doing a seminar in Australia for the Australian PGA, and a teacher came up to me during lunch and said, you know, I think TrackMan's rubbish and it harms people, it harms golfers. And I said to this teacher, I said, how did you arrive at this seminar today? They said, I drove my car. I said, why didn't you ride a horse? You know, and I said, that's all it is. That's all it is. It's just, it's advancement. We're getting better, you know.
What would you do in the game? What would you change in the game? I talk to a lot of people that think the ball should be restricted for the tour boys.
Count me in.
You agree?
I like that.
I actually hear more of that than I ever thought I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a free enterprise guy. So if you play within the parameters and you can create something that actually is better but still within the rules,
Yeah.
that's what free enterprise is all about.
For sure. For
But-
sure.
You know, I can see the other side of that. I really can. I mean, we're seeing people. DeChambeau tried to drive number 1 at Harbortown all 4 days, and never drove it, but he made 3 birdies and a par.
Yeah. That's
We
unfathomable.
wouldn't even think
Yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
would not even think that.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. And we're sitting here today. It's the second round of the first round of the
Northern
playoffs.
Trust. Yeah.
And DJ was 11 under through 11.
Yeah.
That's not an easy golf course. There's
Oh.
a lot of movement in those greens. There's a lot going on, and I sense that, and actually it played out this way with Anderson after he just missed getting his card a couple of years ago. After you helped him, he missed by an eyelash.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2 spots, $1,000 or
Yeah.
something. And we over that winter began to analyze that. Don't worry about it. I think he made 22 of 26 cuts that year.
Yeah.
On the nation, or whatever it's called, Corn Ferry
Yeah.
at that time, or whatever it was. Well, that's great if you're on a tour. That's not great out there.
Yeah.
You got to get in the top 5.
Correct.
And what they do is they'll drive par 4s. They'll try to drive par 4s. And if their driver's on that week, then they're going to finish in the top 5. And if
Yeah.
they're off, they miss the cut.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
And these guys don't care. They're going to bomb, and they're going to bomb, and they're going to bomb. And so how do you I mean, they're getting stronger too, and they're using equipment. You can't discount. I mean, pole vaulting's gone higher because everybody's gotten bigger and stronger. But you think that's a legit way to slow it down?
This is my take, Mike. I've thought about this a lot. Human genetics, human DNA is exactly the same today as it was 100 years ago. Our knowledge, our data, our training, our understanding, our process is significantly better. Yeah. If the players of today used the equipment from 50 years ago, the players of today would be significantly better purely because of information. Okay? And so back in the day, it was a bad thing to work out because you'd mess with your golf muscles. Okay? Nowadays, if you don't work out, you're losing ground. Okay? We understand so much more. To me, changing the ball does one thing. One thing. All it does is it brings back into play 25 to 30 golf courses that are done.
Almost obsolete.
Yeah, that are done.
Not really obsolete. You
Yeah.
see the old courses hold up well.
They do, as long as they got wind. As long as they got wind.
Yeah, they seem to struggle when they go to Ridgewood.
Yeah.
You know, when they go to an open course.
Yeah.
They still do struggle.
Yeah.
But the modern golf course is just a farce. It could be 8,000 yards.
And they're still going to shoot 19 under for the week. Yeah.
It is though, but so you're just saying that when you pull the ball back, it's now bringing hazards into play that they used to
Sure.
drive.
They got to hit 4
gotta hit
irons
7
into
irons
some
instead of
greens.
wedge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got
Yeah.
it a long iron.
They got to hit some long irons into par 4s every now and then. And the best are still going to be the best. And the work that those players, Rory and Brooks and DJ, have put into it, they're still going to be at the top. It's just going to challenge
And
the
they're
players
freaks.
in a different way.
They're athletic freaks too.
Yeah.
But you look at a Justin Thomas. I mean, he's not a freak.
Yeah.
How's he hit his ball so far? How is he getting? I mean, he's not as far as DJ, but he's out there 300 plus every time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, back in the old days, nobody hit it. Now, we were playing bad balls. We were playing. I played wood heads. I didn't even play.
Yeah.
Metal came in while I was
Yeah.
on the tour, 82, 83. But and Nicholas hit it long.
Yep.
With wood. There were
Nicholas hit
always
it long.
some bombers, but
Yeah.
now even the small kids, we see kids come through the club that aren't 5'6", and they're flying at 300.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I really do think it's a better understanding. Look at it this way. Jack Nicklaus comes along and is tremendously successful, okay? And we have no data other than tournament wins. And everyone in Jack's era said, wow, that Nicklaus boy is so strong, you know, he hits it so far. Well, in order for Jack to hit it as far as that much further than the second longest guy, Jack would have to swing like 8 miles an hour faster, 5, 6 miles an hour faster. No one is ever going to be 5, 6 miles an hour faster than the second place guy. Mm-hmm. Jack hit up on the driver in an era when nobody else hit up on the driver. My 2 cents, my take, obviously. I believe Jack was one of the fastest, but not significantly faster than anybody else. Jack just hit up on it, so he had this mechanical advantage. He hit the ball really high, didn't take much of a divot, could hit a 1-iron over, you know, anything. And so Jack launched the ball high and had this advantage beyond just swinging fast. Okay, Jack wins, cleans up. Jack goes away, and now we get this almost like a double era of players that were not that long. We get Felder, we get Curtis Strange, we get Corey Pavin, we get Lanny Watkins, we get Tom Kite, and it becomes this precision era.
Right. Marvelous players there.
Yes,
all of those.
but
But
all
not
like at some
overpowering.
point, exactly.
No,
at some
not
point,
overpowering.
top of the world. All of those guys were amazing at some point, and then we get. Well, in the interim, in the middle of all that, John Daly sneaks in and wins these 2 majors like out of nowhere. Who is this kid? Never heard of this guy.
Right.
Why does that happen? I think that happens because John Daly's playing a different golf course to everybody else.
Correct.
Because he mashes it so far.
Correct.
Okay, he's got a tremendous advantage that at that point we didn't understand. Tiger
That's
Woods
a great
comes
point.
along.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That right there. That I've never really thought about that, but he probably did daily influence the future of the game.
I think so. I think
Interesting
so.
point. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
Yeah. Tiger comes along. He's got speed. We start getting data. We've got all this shot link data, and now we can see why he has an advantage. And now it's like speed.
And then it hadn't stopped.
It hasn't stopped.
And this DeChambeau guy.
And Bryson's
Where's our wine? We lost our wine.
wine's in the fridge.
Hey, pro, give me some more. We owe Jim Woodman.
Jim, cheers, Jim. Thank you
For
for the Camus.
the old,
Gotta love
one of
it.
your old members for the beautiful Camus, 1.5. We chilled it out a little bit.
And you
But
know,
that's great.
and so I really think, you know, it's like that's what's Bryson. Thank you. That's what Bryson has done. Is he's looked at the data and he said, because these are the crazy things that I sit at home and think about is, how can I get, if I'm going to invest, how can I get paid dividends often? Okay, because I'm going to
Correct.
do that. Okay, I'm going to
Right.
do that. When you increase your club speed, from using TrackMan, I know this. I had a guy today, taught a guy today, swinging his driver, he goes 81.2, 80.9, 81.0, 80.8. He's like 81 miles an hour, 81 miles an hour on every swing. Okay, it doesn't change.
Right.
We can hit a shot way left, and we can hit a shot way right, and we can hit a shot in the hole. That changes, but speed doesn't change. And so Bryson's gone, well, I'm going to ramp up my speed by 12 miles an hour. When do I receive dividends on that? On the first tee, on the second swing of the day, on the third swing of the day, on the fourth swing of the day. If I go and improve my bunker play, you know when I get paid? A, I've got to hit it in a bunker, and B, I've got to hit a better bunker shot than before.
Yeah. There is dividends to that.
There certainly there's dividends to improving your bunker play, but they're this big, and speed
opposed to this.
Speed is every swing.
I'm truly flabbergasted by the approach of the game now.
Yeah.
It is just no holes barred.
It's very different, eh? It's very different. I read a great line that somebody said after Morikawa won the PGA. They said, Colin does something that's very difficult. He plays golf properly. He plays,
He does.
and he
does.
plays golf properly.
Beautifully.
Beautifully.
15 greens, 16 greens.
Exactly.
You know, driving it
all
in
of his
13
numbers
fairways.
are right in the middle.
Right.
They're all average. He's average as can be. If you look
Right.
at his TrackMan stuff, he's average as can be.
Right.
Yet his scores and his results are anything but.
And there's always room for those. That was strange. I thought Curtis, when I came along, I came along when he was in college, and I thought he was the best player I ever saw. You know, I think that, you know, he at that time, and he was. He ended up winning 2 Opens.
Yeah, he
he
was
number
awesome.
1 in the world. He was just, but he played a clean game.
Yeah,
He hit his ball well.
a proper game.
A proper game. But now these guys, like DeChambeau, I'm assuming he's sitting in with a simulator in his room with a weight training guy, and they're trying different whatever.
Explosive.
And then he goes and hits, and if it goes up 1 mile an hour, then he's going to work more on that particular drill to maybe get 2 miles an hour. And he's just sitting there just pounding these things. And he drives the ball pretty darn straight.
He's actually marginally straighter at 12 miles an hour faster.
That's long.
That's
long.
that's money, just payouts right there, big time.
And like we said, the approach, if he doesn't drive it real well, he won't make the cut.
Yeah,
He doesn't care.
yeah,
Because when he drives it well, he's so far ahead of everybody else, he's going to finish in the top 5 or win.
yeah.
Depending on how he puts
Massive
and whatever.
advantage,
But there is a built-in advantage. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's the dividend.
Yeah.
That's a huge dividend as opposed to working on your bunker.
On
block.
every swing.
Player used to work on his bunker all the time. I played with him once.
Did you?
Yeah. I played with him in practice round. I asked him if he would play. And a practice round at the King's Mill in Virginia.
Yeah.
And every hole he stopped and played the hardest bunker shots you could play to that hole.
Yeah.
That he'd,
That's
you know,
cool.
if the green sloped away and there was a one behind it, he'd get up in the back part of the bunker and just try to hit bunker shots that would, you could only hit it in the rough this far. You know, you hit it into the rough,
Yeah.
and
And then
there's
it
a
would slow it down,
And it would slow
yeah.
it down. That was the only shot you could hit.
Yeah.
He was always looking for that. But what dividends does that pay? In the end, not what this does.
No.
And that's the difference. I have a real pet peeve. I would eliminate the line on the ball immediately.
I must say, I'm not a fan of the line myself. I think for the average everyday golfer, for someone who can read greens, it's a win. Okay, for someone who can read greens, it's a win because they know where to point the line.
Pointing the line.
But for the average everyday golfer, I encourage most people, no line.
I get tired of seeing these guys.
Take forever, yeah. Yeah. Getting the sights in there.
Get on. Get on with it.
There was a cool video I saw last night of Trevino standing on the 12th tee at Augusta playing a shot. And it was neat because to see the scores because he had shot like 71, 72, 74, old school TV. And he walks out to the front of the tee, looks around, runs back, kind of flips his irons around, pulls this iron out, sets up to the ball and hits it. It takes 11 seconds from when he put his hand on the iron and he hits it to this far on number 12. Beautiful cut 7 iron. No one hits 7 iron on that hole anymore.
Right.
But it took 11 seconds, you know, and it's just old school, and that's what you're after. That's what you're after.
And I think that's, you know, we've worked into this whole, they've got teams of people following around.
Yeah.
You know, and I do get that. There's so much money.
So much.
And you know, having the side coach sitting here watching them, you know, watching a ball game. The side coaches, they watch this guy at the free throw line. He's a routine or whatever. I mean, I sort of get that. But in the end, it's about getting on with it.
Yeah.
And they've just defined this as encapsulating to the point that they're in their own little bubble. They don't even talk on the golf course anymore together. I find that appalling to me. But that's where we are, and it's kind of sad. But it's 5 hours. I mean, I qualified for Harbortown, I don't know, as a club pro 10, 15 years ago or whatever. And we played 3 balls, and it was 5:20. 3 balls.
That must have been driving you crazy.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
This, instead of 11 seconds, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
hour, a minute 30 to actually hit the ball from the time you touch the club.
Let's pull the pin.
That's just not, it's good for the game. It's good for the club pros, and it's good for the club golf. But these are the people they're watching.
Exactly.
And if it's taking them 5 hours to play 3 balls, when we can play it in 3:30,
Yeah.
3:45,
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like foursomes at Prestwick. That's a 2:25 game.
Really?
Oh yeah. 2:25 in the morning, 2:25 with wine at lunch, and 2:25.
I'll never forget the first time we played. I played at Seminole, and like at Seminole, if you line up that 3.5 foot putt, you're getting the evil eye from from your member. Okay, from your member. It's like, let's hit that.
Get
And
on
we were a foursome walking. We were trucking, and a twosome of ladies walking.
Blowing through.
Just we didn't even notice them.
Blowing
It's totally doable.
I don't know why they can't enforce that, but it doesn't have a positive impact. I mean, I love those boys out there, and they're marvelous. There's so many. They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good, but they need to.
They'd be just as good in less time.
They'd be just as good in 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of 5:40,
Yeah.
5:15. That aligning the stars doesn't make you any better. They may think it does.
May actually nudge you in the opposite direction. I would say the average golfer is going to go in the opposite direction, taking that much time.
That made me just think of something. Why? What's the percentage of people in hard spikes and soft spikes out there now? Probably know that.
I don't know that, but I know it's got to be 80% non-hard.
Non-hard.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. Because
Yeah.
I'd hate to think that there's actually people who. Now I think
There's a
Tiger
few.
still wears hard
There's
spikes.
a few, but not many.
Tell me about Tiger. I think he's swinging the club beautifully.
I think he is.
He looks
I think
terrific
he is.
when I
He's
see him
freed
swing.
up. He's freed up. He's got to be getting advice from somebody, whom I don't know.
Teaching wise.
Yeah, I think so. He's got to have some. He's running the show. He's always run the show, I think. Maybe not always, but for a long time he's run the show. He's got to have someone that he bounces his questions off of. What do you think about this? And how do he's got to have somebody or a couple of people that he's bouncing his questions off of. I think he's great. It's just he's fragile.
He's fragile.
Physically he's fragile. I think mentally he's better than he's ever been, and I think you and I, we're older. We're better than we used to be, hopefully, and hopefully.
There are some questions about that.
And Tiger is he looks at the world differently, and I think it's a good thing. I hear people all the time who go, I really like Tiger now. His interviews and the way he talks, and I got to interview Tony Finau during Corona, and it was cool to hear from Tony the influence that Tiger's had on his career. Tony watched the 1997 Masters, and he didn't play golf at that time. And he saw Tiger win, and he said, "Dad, can I play golf?" And last year, 2019, final group Sunday with Tiger at the Masters. Super cool, I think.
What an athlete he is.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Looks to be a great guy.
Amazing guy. 6'9" wingspan. 6'9". Okay, so he can swing it, hip height and 123.
I was talking to Jack Lumpkin about that. We were on the driving range at Harbortown, and he was watching Davis. It was the best workout I ever saw that particular year. I don't know if he won or not. It was the finest workout I've ever saw. The sound.
Yeah.
Was the sound.
Acoustics.
That
Yeah.
deep thud to it.
Heavy, like the ground shakes.
And Ernie was hitting balls over there. And I said, Jack, where does he get his length from? Because he looks like he's swinging in slow motion.
Yeah.
Wingspan.
Yeah.
He's got a wingspan.
Mhm.
You and I got a 32
Massive.
arm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You can hardly get a 32 sleeve.
Yeah.
We got to take it in. We can't do that. We just can't do that.
We
They
cannot.
can.
Yeah.
They can.
And they can make it look easy.
Let's finish. A couple of specific. Tiger, while we're on Tiger. Tiger or Jack, greatest ever.
Tiger.
Yeah.
And I've been
Because
on
of
both.
impact.
I've been on both sides of that fence.
Why?
you look at Tiger's numbers, and I know we don't have Jack's numbers, and you can say the finishes and the greatness of the players then and the greatness of the players now. I really just think what Tiger has done, and certainly Jack, I just got to go with Tiger. I'm leaning on the red side of the fence at the moment.
Interesting.
The red shirt.
And you were on the other side too.
Oh yeah, I've argued in Jack's favor for a long, long time. I would just say Tiger at the moment.
I still think Jack because of the seconds and thirds.
Yeah.
That's just
19 of them, wasn't it? 19
stunning.
seconds, yeah.
19, 17 seconds for thirds, 16, 17 thirds.
Yeah.
Something insane.
Crazy.
But, when you look at a field, in a major field today, there's probably 30 people that could win the tournament on average. Back then, there probably weren't 5.
Yeah.
Or 10.
Yeah.
And he had to fight off Trevino, who may have been. When I was playing, he was easily considered the best ball striker out there. Trevino.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would love to just sit and watch him in his just maybe not even watch, just listen, not to his words, to his golf ball. Just listen to his golf
Yeah, I
ball.
was such a dumbass. I knew some people that knew him. All I had to say was, can you get him to play practice round with me?
Yeah,
I didn't know to do that.
yeah.
And
It's
young
funny
people
how it
who get
works,
out there,
isn't it? Yeah.
ask that. Ask that question for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Ask that question. If you get in, you qualify for a U.S. Open, go ask Tiger for a game. Okay, he'll say no if
Yeah.
he can't do it. Just ask. I
So-
didn't know to do that.
So I've got a great story that ties into exactly that, Mike. And it was told to me by Sean Foley. And so Sean's coaching Cameron Champ. He gets a phone call. Cameron Champ calls him up and says, Sean, I want you to know I got through in a 3-for-1 playoff to get in the U.S. Open, and this was up in Wisconsin. One, I think Brooks won. And he says, I need a favor. I got to play with Rory McIlroy, practice round. Foley says, I'll set it up. Monday morning, 9 o'clock, be ready. Okay. So he sets it up, and they get up on the tee, and on the Monday morning, and Rory gets down, and Rory piles one down the middle. First hole, par 5, dogleg left. Piles one down the middle, and so Cameron's like looking around, like who's going to go next, and Sean's like, yeah, get up there, hit it, kid, And Cameron's a young kid. It's his first major. He's an amateur still, Get up there and hit it. So Cameron kind of hits one low on the face, this low bullet out there, and Foley looks at Rory, and Rory goes, because Rory's heard about him.
Right.
Not that big a deal. And so they're walking down the fairway together, and Rory's ahead of Sean and Cameron. And so they're walking, and there's a ball, and there's a ball, 30 yards, okay? And Rory just piles past the first ball. And so they get to, Sean and Cameron get to the second ball, and they see that it's Rory's ball. And Cameron starts to go, and Sean's like, don't you say a word. Okay, so they're watching Rory. Rory gets up there, he looks down at the ball, and he just looks at the hole. And he realizes he's going to have to make the walk of shame. Okay, he's going to have to make the walk of shame. And Sean goes, Rory, I think this is yours back here. Okay, so Rory's like, oh, yeah, it's pretty good. Kid didn't really get that. And he gets up there, and I think he had slight downwind, like 267 to the pin. Okay, and Rory walks up and says, "Okay, Cameron, come on, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got here. Okay, what you thinking?" So
he's intrigued now.
Yeah. He's like, this kid is very good. Yeah. And so he says, "What you thinking?"
One shot.
One shot. Okay. So he's facing the second shot, and so Cameron says, "Well, I'm thinking like hard 6 or easy 5, because he's like, if I land it on, it's going over."
267.
Okay, 267 downwind, par 5. Rory's like, okay, no, come on, you take the 5 and just hit the 5 hard, because you're gonna have to get on it to get it there. Okay, takes the 5, lands it next to the pin, like 20 yards over the green. Okay, And so the day goes. But it just goes to show how, you know, Rory's top of the world at that time. And Cameron asked Sean to set up a practice round. It was this cool thing, you know.
Yeah, and that's where you learn.
Yeah.
Because what that eventually leads to is more golf, perhaps a dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you come to dinner with us tonight?
Yeah.
And then you watch Rory walk into a restaurant where he's besieged.
Yeah.
And you learn how to deal with it. And you watch him. You watch him with locker room
So true.
attendants.
Yeah.
You learn. And that was the one thing I didn't get. I didn't have. I was kind of winging it, as I seem to have always done. Wing it, like here.
Yeah.
Or a microphone at a tournament. And you learn the in-depth person. You learn how they think. He's at dinner and he'll say something. He'll say something that catches you. That's a different thought than I would have.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in greatness, and then you become better.
For sure.
And if you're an imbecile and if you don't know any different, you're hanging out with the same guys you played college with, playing practice.
Exactly.
No, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Ask. Top 5 golf courses in the U.S.
Shinnecock National. Shinnecock National. That's pretty easy. I would go. Tell you what, it's tough to leave. I know this is to a certain degree sacrilege.
I should have given you a heads up on this.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's not easy.
I got this. You know,
Not
you
easy.
went U.S., so that's a bit of a
Yeah,
loop.
that helps.
No, I would go Harbortown. I love Harbortown. I love Harbortown. I love Harbortown. I would go Seminole and Shinnecock National.
Played Cyprus.
No, have not played Cyprus.
haven't
I would go
Federal.
ANGC.
Yeah, you got to put it in there.
I'd put it in. Not played there. Not played there.
I think it's deserving.
Yeah.
Deserving. It's singularly spectacular. Every hole's a masterpiece. At PGA.
Yeah. That's what it looks like. That's what I've heard. You know.
International.
International. This is Royal Melbourne, my favorite golf course on the planet. And the thing I love about it, Mike, is that if any one of us, any golfer, went out there to go and play Royal Melbourne, you'd get up on the first tee and go, "Yeah, I can do this. I got this."
Inviting.
And you'd fail, and you'd get on the second tee and look around and go, "Yeah, I can do this." And you'd fail, and you'd get up on the third tee, and it pulls you along, you know, it pulls you along. Yet when
That's cool.
And it's so awesome. We took a group of people over to Australia, and we played Kingston Heath and Royal Melbourne, both unbelievable golf courses, like this table.
Yeah.
Okay, never fixed the ball mark at Royal Melbourne, and the people walking off the course at Kingston Heath were downtrodden and like, "Oh man, that was hard." Okay, what'd you shoot? 95. Royal Melbourne, they walk off the golf course, smile on their face. What'd you shoot? 95.
You know, better time.
But they had a better time
Right.
because they felt like, to me, a great golf course allows every golfer to feel like they can achieve.
Yeah.
They can achieve.
And that's the fairness element. That's what's missing in modern design.
Yes.
It's got too tricked up.
With
silliness. You know.
yeah.
Those greens are just as devilish as any green you can manipulate today at Royal Melbourne.
Yeah.
But they're fair.
Correct.
A
Tony
lot of
Finau.
golf is not fair. A lot of
Tony
the modern
Finau
design.
told a fabulous story. He said about the President's Cup, he said, practice round, the whole team's playing together. And so the first hole, which is the third hole on Royal Melbourne West, he says, some guys are hitting driver, some guys are hitting 5-iron, so they got this 90-yard shot into the green. And it's a flattish, big green that's very gently tipped away. And he said the pin is back right, and these players don't know the greens are like this, okay? And he said, everyone's played their second shot, and he said they get up on the green, and one of the players said, Nobody hit the green. Nobody. It's a
From how far?
It's like a 340-yard hole.
Exactly.
Nobody was on the green too.
That's the beauty. Of it.
And that's the beauty of it.
All right, others. You travel. I know
Valley
you travel.
Bunyan.
Oh,
Valley Bunyan.
Beautiful.
Barnbougle Dunes, Tasmania. You have to go.
I just like to go to Tasmania just to say
It sounds
been
cool.
there. It just sounds cool.
Yeah. It was incredibly fun. Incredibly fun. I would go.
No UK courses yet.
Here we go. Here we go.
Your
I must say,
South African
I haven't played any great UK courses. Simply because I've been in that direction to go and play, and I've played in Ireland like 12 times. I've been to an Ireland trip 12 times.
Okay.
County Down and
Stunning.
Portrush.
I think County Down might be one of the finest in the world.
It's awesome.
That's an
It's awesome.
stunning piece
Yeah.
of land. Probably Portrush is more technically better. There's a lot of blind shots at County Down. People don't
7,
like,
yeah.
that's
Green
it.
complexes are just. I could just play there all day, every day.
That to me is it's almost heavenly.
Yeah.
It's almost heavenly.
Yeah.
Now I would put Muirfield there because I think Muirfield and Shinnecock are exactly the same.
Big, proper.
Big, proper, fair, but
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And wind, circulating.
Yeah.
The design, the design loops you.
Yeah.
It's not out and back. You
Yeah.
know, at Muirfield, it's concentric circles. You go this way on the front, this way on the back. You go inside, outside. And but I was playing Shinnecock, I think 3 summers ago, and one of my dearest friends, Paul Perot, out of Canada.
Yeah.
He comes over, like in the 4th or 5th hole, they're running parallel, and we've traveled a lot together. And Perot goes, this is Muirfield. It's a bingo. It was his first time there. I've been there a couple times. You nailed it. That's exactly it. Well, you need to get to Scotland more.
I've never played in Scotland. I've been a couple of times for seminars, but never played. So it's definitely on the menu.
All right. I have to have you tell the Grant Lake story.
I was not going to leave that out. That story is too good.
We've got to wrap it up, and I don't know how we're doing. We're okay. Producer says good.
Okay.
Producer
Okay.
don't. I love it.
Yeah.
I love a good story, and that's really what it's all about. That's what we like to get out.
Yeah.
I want to make sure people know you, but I also want stories. And we were sitting not too long ago with Greg Vetch, our dear friend,
Yes.
at the club, and he told me this story. So take your time. Give me all the Nicholas.
All the background. All the background.
Give me all the accolades, okay?
So it's
go.
and Grant's told me this story a few times. Grant Waite is known most probably, and he wouldn't be pleased if I told this, but he's most known for the guy who Tiger beat when he hit that fairway bunker shot over the water in the Canadian Open onto the green. And Grant's that guy. Okay. So Grant is
6 iron from 230 over water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Remember that.
And so Grant tells a story. He's a young pro. He's a really good player. Had good success. He's from New Zealand. He's playing in Australia, and big rivalry between New Zealand and Australia. Mostly rugby based, but big rivalry.
Right.
So Australians don't really love New Zealanders, and vice versa.
Right.
So Grant's over there. He's a young pro. He's been playing for 4 months, having good success. He's playing in the Australian Masters. And on Saturday, he plays with Greg Norman, his idol, his hero. Okay. And
He's how old?
Grant is most probably 20. Youngster.
Baby.
Okay. Whippersnapper.
Baby.
Okay. At this point, been pro for 4 months. Done nothing. Okay. So he plays with Greg Norman, and he makes it through the round, and he said it's a tough, blustery day on a skinny golf course, and he shoots 73, Greg shoots 70. Greg's in the final group, Grant's in the second last group. Okay, so he gets out of the scorer's tent, looks at the pairings for Sunday. Grant's in the second last group with Jack Nicklaus. Okay. And he's going, I played with Greg Norman, now I got to play with Jack Nicklaus. Okay. And he's like, whoa. So he barely sleeps that night and gets out on the first tee, and it's just packed out. Okay. Packed out to see Jack Nicklaus. And he says, Jack's on the tee first. And he says, the announcer goes, ladies and gentlemen, now on the tee, winner of 6 Masters, you know, so many U.S. Opens, so many, and he goes down the list and he's like, the 1961 Ohio Junior, you know, and he's going through the whole list of Nicklaus's career. It's 5 minutes, okay. And he closes out his introduction of Nicklaus, and the greatest golfer of all time, Jack Nicklaus. It's like a wrestling match, you know, and the crowd just, they go crazy. And Grant's standing back there, and he's losing it. Okay. While he's introducing Nicklaus, he leans over to his caddy and says, I think I should hit a 3-wood because I'll just hit it off the deck because I don't know if I'm going to get this on the tee. Okay. He's so nervous. And and he gets, and it's like, okay, and Jack hits a good one down the middle. And Grant's like, okay, you know, here we go. Yeah, let's hit a good one. And Grant gets up there and he manages to get his ball on the tee, his hands shaking. And now on the tee, winner of absolutely nothing. I think that's absolutely nothing.
Okay. He's taking a shot.
So Grant Wade is like, oh man, he's like, I'm down, but you know, this is kicking a man when he's down. And so he can barely see, he can't swallow, he's back there, he takes some kind of a practice swing and he's about to get up and hit his shot, and someone from the crowd shouts, come on, you sheep shagger.
The Australians and the New
Come on,
Zealanders.
you sheep shagger.
Oh,
and
God,
Grant's like,
I
oh,
love
he
that
had to take another practice swing, and he says somehow he just rips it down there past Nicklaus. But to Jack's credit, walking off the tee, he said, Jack puts his arm around him, and he says, come on, let's go, we'll have a good day.
That's what I love about Nicklaus. Just a gentleman.
Yeah.
Hardcore competitor, as hard as they come.
Yeah.
As hard as they maybe have ever produced. Tiger's probably right there. But what a gentleman.
True, eh?
Yeah.
True, yeah.
Just put his arm around him.
Yeah. And it showed, you know, with the concession with Tony Jacklin. It showed in that President's Cup in South Africa with Tiger and Ernie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, good stuff, eh?
And think about that. He finished second 18 times or 17 times, whatever the number is. I mean, for a competitor, that's a hard pill. But always gracious. Always writing letters. Always, you know, just always was always thinking of the other person. Like he put his arm around Grant. Let's go. Watson.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
I mean,
77.
Watson, I had dinner with Watson once. We're Polo boys, and he said on the 18th hole he walked over to that lie. He said he was only this far from the course. It was a K like this.
Yeah.
And he said I went over there and I walked between him and Angelo. I literally walked right between them, and he looked. I mean, that takes some stunts to do that. He goes right between them and looks at this lie, and then walks right back to the middle of the fairway. And he said he gouged that thing out there. He said he'd never seen anything like that. And he had 30 feet. He said he's going to make that. He said I have to make birdie, and he did. So I mean, just as good as it comes. Well, speaking of gentlemen, you're an absolute delight. It was a treat.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. I don't know how long. We've got an hour and a half in at least.
It's awesome.
We could go for 3 hours.
Let's keep going.
Jim Woodman, thanks for the Camus there, big boy.
Cheers.
Delightful.
Thanks, hey, Mike. Cheers.